Hi, and welcome to Quick Bites, where Jonathan Mays, the editor-in-chief of Restaurant Business, and myself, editor-in-chief of Nation's Restaurant News, Sam Oches, we debate the latest restaurant news in 5 minutes or less. Jonathan, it seems like it's been a particularly newsy month. Am I wrong about that?
Did something happen this month? I can't remember.
There's been a few things, and we are going to talk about as much of it as we possibly can in 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and start the timers right now and jump into it. All right, so Jonathan, first up in seismic news in the restaurant industry world, last week we found out that Starbucks had hired Chipotle CEO Brian Niccol to be their chief executive. It was really a swing for the fences for the coffee chain to try to reverse their recent woes, which has included 2 straight quarters of falling sales. Jonathan, what do you think of this move?
Well, it makes as much sense as anything else. Brian Niccol has a lot of experience fixing brands with troubled or stubborn sales challenges. He knows how to deal with the founder. He knows how to deal with activist investors. It makes a ton of sense. My question, Sam, is why didn't this happen 2 years ago? Why did Starbucks go through all of this rigmarole over the past 2 years? Going through the entire reinvention plan, hiring someone, making him spend 6 months as a CEO in training, and then you let go of the guy after effectively just one bad quarter based on their timing. Now, that said, I mean, as much sense as Brian Niccol makes, he is not a slam dunk. Starbucks is somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 times the size of Chipotle. For instance, it has an entire Chinese market that is even worse off right now than the United States, with some extremely stubborn and difficult challenges ahead. Chipotle really doesn't have much in the way of an international presence. That is going to be fascinating to watch. And then on top of that, Howard Schultz is a particularly loud founder who has now a track record of effectively ousting the previous guy and then the person before that. So I don't think it's a slam dunk. I think it is much more complicated than Chipotle. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I think you're right about that, but I'll take a more positive look at this. I think that this could be very good for Starbucks, and I'll tell you why. First off, Brian Niccol did for Chipotle seemingly, I mean, he was magic for them, because let's revisit 2015, 16, 17. Chipotle goes through this E. coli disaster, a PR nightmare. They were once sort of the golden child of the industry, and then they hit this huge speed bump. Brian Niccol comes in and effectively makes everybody forget about that. Now, how did he do that? He made Chipotle mainstream. He's turned them from this kind of stuffy, elitist burrito chain into a very mainstream, easy to access, easy to order, kind of everywhere all of a sudden burrito concept. And to that end, look, Starbucks is not in that same position. They're not going through a PR crisis necessarily. But I think what he could help them do is make them a bit more mainstream. Starbucks, I think, compared to a lot of the other coffee brands out there, maybe they have a little bit of an elitist thing going on. And he can perhaps help to bring them down to earth and turn Starbucks into this ever-present, very drive-through oriented company that could connect with the everyday customer perhaps a little bit more than it had. And my expectation is, look, he really tightened the screws on their throughput, their operations, their digital, their loyalty, their marketing. He's a marketer at heart. I expect he will do a lot of the same for Starbucks as well. So I'm going to take a more positive look at this. I think he can help, but he's got a lot of work ahead of him, that's for sure.
Always glass half full. I'm just going to have them edit some rainbows and unicorns in your background there. Scott Boatwright was named interim CEO of Chipotle. You might remember that chain. That's a company that Brian came from. What do you think of that, Sam? Can Scott earn the permanent job? And what do you think is going to happen to Chipotle now that Brian is gone?
I think he can. I mean, I think, either Chipotle goes for a similar kind of swing for the fences like Starbucks just did and hires Paul Brown or somebody. I don't think he'll ever pull that off. But, either they swing for the fences with some real rock star hire, or more likely they just give Scott the role. He's been COO since 2018. He's really effectively helped them implement a lot of Brian Niccol's strategy. So if they want consistency and to get to that 7,000 unit level they're aiming for, I think he could be the man for the job. Jonathan, we only have 30 seconds left, and I want to really get to this Subway story you just wrote, the $5 footlong deal, casting long shadow over Subway. Tell me more about that based on your reporting. What's the deal here?
Subway has never really been able to get out from under the shadow of the $5 footlong. They haven't. Anytime you talk about Subway's problems on social media, invariably somebody is going to bring up the $5 footlong. They're gonna their subs are too expensive because they used to cost $5. Oh my gosh, what?
No, finish that thought. We'll give you a few more seconds.
So Subway, invariably, every single time you say anything about Subway, somebody comes up and says the reason that they have problems is that their subs are expensive and used to cost $5. They haven't run the $5 footlong for more than a decade. It's been since 2012. And so that's really been a hard thing for them. They haven't really been able to develop a value offer that can succeed at the $5 footlong. And so that's been a real challenge for them. That's a big reason why their sales have been sluggish for a long time. And, they have a lot of stores, Sam. They have 20,000 still. Even after 7,000 closures, they still have 4,000 more locations than anybody else in the United States. You need a lot of customers to be able to fill those stores. And for that, you need value.
May it be a warning to all of you other brands out there looking for discounting and value. Don't fall into the same trap that Subway has fallen into. That is for sure. All right, Jonathan, clearly we always have a lot to talk about. So I'm glad to have this opportunity to chat, even if it was in 5 minutes or less. And to everybody watching, of course, go to nrn.com, restaurantbusinessonline.com for much, much more from our teams. We are all over restaurant news and insights. Jonathan, as always, it's a pleasure.
Thank you, Sam.